This is the Southern Palm Beach Island Comprehensive Shoreline Stabilization Project. Southern Palm Beach Island Comprehensive Shoreline Stabilization Project is an environmental impact statement that was performed by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. This project encompasses a total of 2.07 miles in a beach that they are evaluating. Although the beach is located in the same area, this environmental impact statement is actually evaluating the effects of two different beach shoreline stabilization projects. The first is a 1.24-mile-long stretch of beach that is to be filled with 65,200 cubic yards, 3,400 of which are under the mean high water line, of sand to rebuild the beach. The second is a 0.83-mile stretch of beach that is being filled with 77,600 cubic yards, 26,600 of which would be put under the mean high water line, of sand for the same purpose. The sand will either be from a sand mine or dredged from an offshore borrow area in order to build up the beaches. The sand will then be taken to a staging area, while waste to be distributed to the correct area of the beach. The second part of this project is adding 7 low-profile king and panel groins perpendicular to the shoreline to help keep it intact. These are basically wooden panels that help keep the sand in place and prevent erosion, which are shown to the right of your screen. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers decided that they would be evaluated with the same environmental impact statement because the sole purpose of these two projects are the same. The purpose of this impact statement is to determine if it qualifies for a Section 404 CWA permit under the Environmental Protection Agency. This permit is only given to projects that aim to limit the impact to the aquatic ecosystem from dredging waters. Shown here is a map of where Palm Beach, Florida is. As you can see, they're located on the eastern side of Florida off of the Atlantic Ocean. 16 scientists that helped assist in preparing this environmental impact statement. 2 of these scientists have a bachelor's degree, 11 of them have a master's degree, most of which are in marine biology, and 3 of the scientists on this project have their PhD. This makes them completely qualified to research this impact statement. Not only that, but they have anywhere from 2 to 29 years of experience. Also, they had 5 reviewers look over this environmental impact statement, 3 of which had their bachelor's degree and 2 of which had their master's. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers used data from previous studies and models to make their decisions, but did not take any new information or perform any new studies for this environmental impact statement. They look at graphs of environment under the water, physical conditions of the area, including waves, wind, and weather, shoreline erosion, land use, endangered species, with a focus on sea turtles and manatees, coral life, and fish habitats. They look to see where each species resides during what time of the year, how many are in the local population, how weather affects their habitat and living patterns. They use this data to determine the better location for sand dredging and to determine what impacts putting the sand on the beach will have and how bad it will disrupt the ecosystem. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers recalibrated a model system used for another study in order to determine the effects of the nearshore hard-bottom environment. A simulation was used to determine the impact on wave height and surfability. Delft 3D is a modeling and engineering simulation to determine sand accumulation in the 3 years after the project is completed. They used that and GIS data to find out the re-exposure of hard-bottom resources. Adjacent properties were looked at to determine if they would be at all affected by this project. They also looked at environmental justice issues briefly to determine if they would have a negative impact on one specific group of people. Since this project is about a beach and a beach only, they have determined that since the sand is mostly going in and around the water, it will not have any adverse effects on a specific group of people. For their comparative analysis, they looked at 7 different project alternatives for this specific area of beach. The first being no action, second being the proposed action plan that they are evaluating in this environmental impact statement, and 5 more that are a different combination of sand volumes and king and panel groins. The comparisons where they use more sand and no king and panel groins had the worst impact on the environment, while the use of the groins helped keep the sand in place and mitigate effects of the increased sand volume. It was determined after looking at all of these different comparisons that the proposed project plan was the best option for the goals that they were trying to accomplish, all while decreasing the environmental effects. They are using the least amount of sand possible to achieve the lasting beach effects they want, all while putting the least amount under the mean water line that causes the detrimental effects to the environment. Any good SIA, they also had to host public involvement. The first meeting of the two was held on August 12, 2013, and started at 5:30 with an opportunity to view posters and visuals about the project. It formally commenced at 6 p.m. with the introduction of the project. At this public meeting, there were 38 attendees that signed in on the sign-in sheet, 2 of which were county representatives. Out of these 38 people, the researchers and organizers received 5 oral comments at the meeting and 6 written comments afterwards. The comment period was extended to September 3rd, 2013 for 15 more days than expected, and a total of 45 days for the comment period for this meeting and project. These comments were used to then shape the alternative project options that were considered throughout the impact statement. A second meeting was held on January 7th, 2015. This meeting was held at the same town hall as the previous meeting. This meeting was not a scoping meeting, but a draft of the environmental impact statement was completed and shown to the public. At this meeting, there were 57 private citizens who attended, which is an increase from the first scoping meeting, along with someone from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the town of Palm Beach, and Palm Beach County. They received 16 oral comments during this meeting, along with 8 more written comments. This comments period was extended 30 days and ended February 25th, 2015, for a total of 45 days. At the first meeting, there was a concern for something that was not originally accounted for: surfing. This comment is why the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers decided to implement something in the impact statement to show the effects on surfing. The impact on surfing happened to be minimal, and the project does not impact the wave height where the surfing areas are near this beach. This shows that they actually listened to the public's opinion on the project that they are evaluating. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers determined that there would be little impact on recreational value, especially surfing, which was brought up at the public meeting and talked about on this previous slide. The impacts on endangered species, especially manatees and sea turtles, can be limited if they follow their project plan exactly. The impacts on nearshore hard bottom, which are hard bottom reefs located off the coast of Florida at a 0 to 4 meters depth, and they help stabilize beaches and are home to extensive species of fish and sea life, could be detrimental if too much sand is added on top of them. All of the negative impacts are concentrated within the water and aimed at sea life, while there are very minimal impacts to the beach over the water that the sand would be put on. In this environmental impact statement, they did consider different mitigation strategies. One of these is to only perform their project work from November 1st to April 30th in order to not interfere with the sea turtle mating and habitats. They are also monitoring their turbidity levels while dredging sand in order to not interfere with manatee habitats. The nearshore hard bottoms impacts are going to be mitigated by putting the least amount of sand under the mean water line as possible, so fewer negative impacts happen. There are very little monitoring strategies set forth by this SIA. They only plan on returning to the site once every 3 to 4 years to assess their work and determine if the sand needs renourished. I think that they should go back no less than once a month just to check on their work and make sure that everything that they have done is going smoothly and determine their renourishment needs from those once a month trips out there. Overall, for this environmental impact assessment performed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I would like to give them a B+ as a grade, which is pretty mediocre in my opinion. They have a lot of research and extensive research on the Palm Beach area, its environment, and all of the species that could possibly be affected by this project. However, they only hold 2 public involvement meetings in the same place at the same time, which is not very good in terms of being able to reach out to the public. I think that they could have done a lot more in-depth public involvement and gotten a lot more comments if they would have done it either more often or in different ways rather than just holding an hour-long town hall meeting twice. I also think that they have a lack of monitoring strategies and that they could really use some improvement on those, which is why I gave them a B+ and not an A, even though they do take into consideration a lot of the different SIA principles and do a very good job at determining all of the environmental effects.